everyone, and welcome Monday Mojo. I am so excited tonight because, as you know, we've been doing all of our pre shows today as well because it is Encourage Young Writers Day. And what a way for us to encourage is that we've had all these pre shows of my friends that are writers. And I asked them pretty much the same thing, and they all gave me brilliant and just wonderful explanations, words of wisdom, and they were all different. And that was just, it astonished me that you can ask these brilliant people the same things, and they all come up with something so brilliant and different. And, they all said a couple of words that were the very same. And we are going to see our brilliant Olivia Vo, that is a long term friend of mine that we met so long ago, that was on so many of our mojos, that helped me get started in the mojos and Throwback Thursdays and writing and so many other things, because she's just that person to help everyone. So let's welcome Olivia Bo. Come on down.
And I brought all my books with me, LaDonna.
Yes, yes, yay!
Oh my gosh, what a thrilling ride that was last year, huh?
Oh my
To be able to be
gosh.
in 3 books with you. I'm just so proud of you for being able to share your story, share your legacy. We're here, Live Life and Wow. We're in the Stories of Us, which is your mini memoir. And of course, the all most beautiful book of all, Cinderella Monologue. So I'm so proud of you. And I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you for taking this on. I mean, like, I know I helped you jumpstart on Restream, but you have just really, just been trailblazing in your own unique way, keeping up the Monday Mojo and Throwback Thursday. And I'm just so admiring of your dedication, to make it
Oh,
your
thank
own.
you so much, Olivia. I'm telling you, it had never been done without your inspiration, help, your guidance, your teaching skills, and what most of all, just you comforted me. You showed me the ropes and you showed me how it's done. And we did a lot of learning together as well. But you really are a great teacher and just overwhelming my heart in so many ways. It's brilliant. And to have you here tonight on such a special occasion, I love it. Love
I couldn't
it.
say no to National Encourage a Young Writer Day. I mean, that speaks to my heart. I've been watching a pre-show, so that's something new that I saw you doing today, and I want to give you kudos for that because I know how much energy it takes in coordinating multiple interviews in a day. So the fact that you got Sherry and Bruce and Helen and Mila on, I mean, I think that's so fantastic.
And
And
I,
they all said, some very common things. And I love what
yes.
Sherry said about the self-expression. I love Helen, being able to open up her throat chakra. And of course, Mila. Mila's been a catalyst for both you and I because she's just a wonderful, book coach and editor.
Oh, absolutely. And all of them, Sherry, Bruce, Mila, Helen, and you're all a little unique in your own ways. You don't do things just alike. You have it written in all the books and the same. You're just different, and that's what I wanted for today. And even though I asked the same things pretty much, some things were the same, like get started. That was all the same. Everyone said that word, and I know you will too. But there's so many things similar, of how to get these children to write and to keep writing. And I'm going to ask you some of the same things. And one of the things I ask is, what is your very, very first thought when I say National Encourage a Young Writer? What is your encouraging a young writer? What is your first thought, Olivia?
Literacy. I think it's so important to introduce literacy at a young age. I mean, this is a lifelong skill, being able to learn to read and to write and to express yourself. So that's my first
Isn't that
literacy.
Oh, that's brilliant. I come from a house that my father never learned to read or write ever. My mother could read on a certain level and write on a level. So I think children learn differently. I learn in a slower pace than most, or some, a lot. I don't know which words are correct, but we all learn at a certain pace. Some get it quicker than others, but we all learn, and sometimes it takes longer. As you know, Olivia, you've had to repeat several things to me in the past. Get it? Break it down, do it differently so that, because we do learn differently. And I just love the idea of having this day to embrace, to help youth. And you know what? Maybe one of these interviews will get to the right younger person or older. Sometimes you pushed and pushed me to writing in a loving way, and I loved it since then. I have loved it. So, Olivia, I don't know if you know, but in 1744, the book, A Little Pretty Pocket Book, was the first book intended for children's reading pleasure. Did you know that? Do you know this book?
No, I've not heard of this book before.
You know what? I haven't either. And when I seen it, I thought to myself, I have to look it up. And look how the words are written. Some are small, some are large. And look at the illustration. There's no color, but at least there was some illustration.
You
And
know what?
I
This reminds me of like the first storybooks I encountered was Aesop's Fables. So reading fairy tales, Hans Christian Andersen, right? So parents, read those to your children and they're timeless classic tales.
Yes, classic is the word for that for sure. And you know what? It's amazing how far our writing has became since way back then. But even 10 years ago, hasn't it evolved? I mean, writing has really, really evolved over time. That is for sure. And then, Olivia, my next one, clear your mind. Most
Okay.
children are natural storytellers. What comes to mind when you hear that?
I love it because I volunteer with Harmony Mind Body Spirit Wellness, and I was on a recent trip to Mexico, and I brought these like little wooden animals, and I would lay them out on the picnic table at the park, and I would tell the children, okay, let's go make up a story, and I would have a giraffe, elephant, turtle, bird, and instantly they'd come up with a story, like they just make it up, and
Isn't
it doesn't
that
have to make
great?
sense, and you just encourage it, whatever they say. It doesn't have to be right or wrong. You just say, keep going, tell me more. What if, right? Like get them to even think about it further. Like, what if? So we
Exactly.
made a story that day about a friendship between a giraffe and an elephant and a turtle and a
Uh,
bird, and it was
It's
quite beautiful. So introduce
amazing.
little props to them, right? So props and toys, anything around you, you can just grab and have that like jumpstart a story.
Absolutely. And Helen and I was talking a little earlier today, and she brought up the fact that she went back to her keepsake boxes from her kids when they were really young. And I think it was third or fourth grade, I can't remember. All of them had to write about the same picture, and they were all different. One was funnier, one was scarier, one was more logical, I guess, but they were all so different. But it was about this, it was in the same grade, they had to do it at the same school. And it's amazing. You and I could tell a story, have a picture, and we would tell it completely different, Olivia, because you may start at the top of the cup telling your story, and I may start at the bottom, or in the middle, like Mila said this morning, just start.
Mm-hmm.
Mila Johansson said, I sometimes she starts her stories at the end and some in the middle, and she said very few at the beginning, but she does it. She just and Bruce Barnes was saying, jot things down, write them down, even if it's one word that you might find. And it's the same thing I think for youth. What if those kids that you laid your pops out for could write that story about the elephant and the giraffe and the bird and the turtle, they would all come out different, and that's okay. And Olivia and I've had this talk many times, is that I was afraid to write a story because I'm not good with sentence structure. I'm not good with punctuation. But then to come to find out, Word does a lot of that for you. And then you can hire people to do that for you, or just get with a publisher. They hire people to do that as well. You know, it's okay. Just start. It doesn't matter your if your vocabulary is correct or incorrect or your sentence structure. Just start, even if you're a child. I wish I would have started younger. When did you start writing, Olivia? Did you start writing younger or?
Excellent. I remember I would make like my own storybooks. I would like draw these pictures of myself and, write about my favorite fruits and my family. And I was 8 years old at the time. And then I'll never forget like my sixth grade teacher, she gave me my first journal, like my first diary notebook, and sent me to a writing program for students.
Oh,
And so I think that jump started me. So I would say, there's an element of writing. I mean, there's academic writing, which you're encouraged to do in school, and that can kind of be dry and boring, but pursue that. And then there's that creative writing, being able to take poetry classes, learning to journal, learning to keep a diary. And then I think about how even just that one influence in my early life has helped and shaped my entire career, because, eventually, like, being able to continue writing throughout school helped me to earn scholarship money. You have to learn to write essays, and then you learn to write research papers, and then you learn to write, your resumes and business reports for work, etc. Even like writing and scripting a show, right? That takes that type of skill too. So writing will always be with you, I feel, and it's important just to encourage that early, because there's so many things that kids can expand and learn from that.
I agree. You're in childhood. I remember, the teacher would give you, back then there were no word pads or tablets or anything. It was, a book and paper, and the paper was in a tablet when you were younger with the big lines, and they would give you a word, and you were supposed to put that word in the lines, on the lines to a certain, and then you grew to a sentence and then maybe a paragraph, but they were giving it to you. You were just rewriting it. But there, like
Mm,
you said, there was no expression. There, you couldn't express your opinions about it. It was just black and white. This is what you write. And I don't ever remember writing um, to express my own thoughts or opinions. Maybe that's because maybe I wasn't in the right class. Maybe I wasn't ready for that. But then it was really hard when I went to college. I didn't even really know how to write to study. And, there's so many reasons to write, what to write, how to write, even to study. When I was in my nursing program, I remember that was really hard. And I just paired up with a group that studied together, and I just took notes the way they did. But yes, I think it's really important. And, Sherry Leopold was saying, it needs to come more than just from teachers at school. They can't do everything.
yeah.
Do it at home as well. And, I was telling, I think it was Bruce, I'm not for sure, that we used to take vacations. And when my girls were growing up, I would try to get them to write about their vacation. Well, that went over somewhat. Sometimes they did it, sometimes they didn't. They thought that was goofiness. But we did get some good subjects. They both wrote about different things, and sometimes they would write just a couple of sentences or a paragraph. But hey, at least it was something. I wished I would have been more on that, but who knows? Maybe it'll come to them later, right? But they did have the opportunity.
No, I think it just comes in different waves for different people at different stages of their life. I forgotten about writing actually. I loved it so much as a student, and I forgot about it. And then only until I met Mila and discovered like self-publishing and Amazon, like it opened up a whole new world. I mean, it's fascinating what you can do now. And so you can just write and publish yourself. And so that's the reason why I'm in so many book anthologies. Beyond the three that we're in, I've learned, and for each anthology, I've actually been able to write a different chapter each time. So this is more about like my immigrant family story. And then I talked about my brother and I having a sibling relationship. This one is really fun to write. This is about all my heart glasses and how they came to be. And I never thought like this would be important to write, but it was so cool just to document because it's, it's part of my journey, like how I was able to take on this brand. So that talks about this accidental branding concept. Um, I wrote about, laughter yoga in this one, the impact of one voice, how to discover
Yes.
laughter yoga. Then this one was really cool. So this one is just about writing letters, like Dear John type letters. And I chose Dear Inner Child, Dear Money, and dear grief. Yeah, dear grief, for these letters. And then my latest book I wrote about LinkedIn, right, which is pertaining to my business. So there's so many different avenues you can explore writing to express ideas, to preserve your family heritage, to tell a story, to promote your business, right? And it shows all different, because we're not just one-sided being, we're like very three-dimensional. And so I think it's important to showcase all different facets of yourself, your personality, and your life. And because I love publishing so much now, I want to share with everyone a resource, and it's called studenttreasures.com. So student treasures, only one T. It's not like student and then another T for treasures, but studenttreasures.com. So if you are a teacher, you can actually order like a book kit from this company, and they'll send it to you completely free. And it will have prompts and themes that you as a classroom can do together and publish it. So any parent that wants to order and publish, that's where, they would pay the money, but it's completely free for a teacher to use as a resource. And then if you are a parent that's on like the PTA, like school board, for example, right, you can recommend a classroom for this book kit. It's a free book kit. If you're a homeschool parent, right? So there are many parents that homeschool their children, and you want to foster that idea of writing and publishing, because I think it's just so magical for a student or a young child to see their ideas come to life. And you can include illustrations. So it's not just writing, but you can include illustrations that can be published as well too. So it's available for homeschool parents. And I truly believe it's like such a game changer, and I want to tell everybody about it. And you can also win money for your school. So your school classroom book gets picked for the national award, and that's money. And we're always hearing about teachers, lacking resources. So this is one way to make up that deficit.
Wow, I never heard of that till now, Olivia. Thank you. You're just always full of surprises. Always so supportive for others. You're not in this game just for Olivia. That is for sure. So let's go on to 1897. Um, Eden Blyton, the best-selling children's author of all time, is born. Have you heard of her, Olivia? Do you know about any of her writing?
No, I've not
I
met her
don't
before.
either. And you know what? When I did a research, I did find a little bit about her, but not a lot, but a little bit. But what amazes me is that writing was so important even in 1897 and about children, you know, children to learn from, to read, to write, to think about. The inspiration that comes from children is amazing, and we want to support our children when we can, for sure. And so the next, clear mind again, Olivia, clear mind. Um, we want to continue with some inspiration from you on children's vivid sense of imagination and creativity allows them to come up with extraordinary stories. And I know that you have already talked about this, but I want to talk about it just a little more. What was the first thing that came to your mind?
Like taste. um, I think about, just being able to taste yummy food, or touch something and then writing about it, describing it, right? Because kids are so sensory, and they want to touch things all the time. And they're always putting things in their mouth. At least I remember as a kid, I always wanted to taste like dirt and grass.
Absolutely. Oh
So
my
just
goodness.
open up your senses, and then just encourage them. Okay, what did that feel like?
Oh my goodness. When you said that, I used to, this just came to the top of my mind when you said this. Okay. But I need to write a story about. I used to make my younger. I'm the oldest of four, and I need to make just a small chapter or book or something about. I used to make my younger siblings eat mud pies. I don't know how many times I have been in trouble for having them eat mud pies. I mean, I don't know why I thought of that when you talked about yummy foods, because that wouldn't be yummy. But it is something, that's part of my childhood. You know, things that you do, things that you did or did not do, or the way you did it. And it's pretty amazing when you go to childhood and you think, oh my gosh, I should write about that. It's Helen said today, maybe we all need to pull out those our bed, our keepsakes from our childhood or our children's childhood and make a little book for them. Because we do. I mean, I don't know if you have them or maybe your mom has them, but do one of you have like things that you wrote back in elementary school, maybe? Even if it was just one page.
So I have to find it, but because I've been in the process of moving, but I did come across like my old picture book that I made, when I was 8 years old. And I remember because I dated that one, so I actually have that, and I'm going to
Awesome.
cherish it.
Moving. Olivia, you love your house you live in.
Do you notice
Are
my new
you up?
background? I've moved again. I'm not in my same background, so I've
I
moved
know
just in
you're not. Yes. Are you upgrading?
yeah. So there's another story behind that, right? So I've had an opportunity to invest in my neighborhood, so I've moved to a new place.
That is
Yes,
awesome. Awesome. Oh, I'm so glad. You know what? Another chapter in our lives, right?
indeed, yeah.
And
So when you just said mud pies just now, one of my favorite books reading when I was growing up was Blueberries for Sal. So why not blueberries? I mean, mud pies for LaDonna or something.
you know,
So I would challenge you, why not embark on a children's book? Because I know you've got an adorable grandson, Bryson. And if you could write maybe Mud Pies for Bryson as a book title,
oh, yes.
you
Wouldn't
know,
that be cool?
and
Oh
then
my
just go
gosh.
through the imagery and all the fun things you could. Because I think I'd love to explore children's book writing next. Now that I've been inspired by you here, because I think there's a story that I can come up with about the heart glasses. From a
Oh,
children's perspective.
absolutely. And Mark, Big Daddy, has challenged me to do a children's story through the eyes at Granny's house, because
Mark said
once they
that.
once they get into the we forget about my four grandchildren are from my two daughters. So once they enter this property, all boundaries of their what they tell us are off. What you hear stays here. And it's so fun because we have a riding lawnmower. It's a mower, and we call that the bumblebee because it's bright yellow. And Bryson loves to ride on the bumblebee. He can't do it by himself yet because it's a big
Mm,
mower. But just fun stuff like that. And he
that'd
tells
be
his
a great
mommy
book
and
title.
daddy every time he goes home about he went to Ranger's house and Max's house and Boo Boo's house and Granny's house and Papa's house, and he rode the bumblebees and he's seen the turtles. It's in his eyes. This is like paradise. It's like shit, you
Oh my
know.
God, LaDonna, I think you should do it. I think that'd be such a fun book title for a children's book, Riding the
And
Bumblebee.
see, I got it from him. So I'm reflecting back on it is through the eyes of the youth, because they don't see life the way we see it. They don't. They see it, dear. We say rose colored glasses, the song through rose colored glasses. Everything is a fairy tale. It's, lollipops and unicorns and, sprinkles. But you know what? Don't we want our children and our youth to see it that way? Do we want them to see it any other way? No, because they have all this expression. And if we can just get them about what they're thinking, when Bryson is here, he's the youngest of four. There's 10 years difference from him to the other. The others are crazy teenagers now. They're no fun. They're on another level. But I reading bedtime, he'll pick out two bedtime stories, very small and short. And then one night he would not fall asleep because his going 1,000 miles an hour here. So and he fell asleep on top of me, and him and I slept together. Well, this last weekend he was here. He wanted me to read the two stories. He was young. Well, I couldn't go back as far back as when he was young. From what they told me, he used to play baseball, things like that, because I also want to hear stories about what they know. His mommy, his daddy. Isn't that what life's all about?
I know, because you said
It's
something earlier
just
today about how you can go beyond the family tree, right? You can go beyond the family tree, and your children and grandchildren and great grandchildren can trace the origins of how you came to be without having to dig for it. I mean, you've written it all out, laid it out for them. And I love that. I love that you go beyond the family tree.
and you know what? Mila and I talked about that morning. I really thinking I should one day. I know I'm older, Olivia, but I am still young in my mind. Lay out my life so they don't have to worry. So you can go back to family history, and I've done family, but I'm like, okay, is that census really right? Is that because way back they don't even know they have 2 days for my grandmothers because they've been told two different things. My kids and my grandchildren and great grandchildren to know who I was. Good, bad, ugly, because it'll be something that can help them later. Maybe they want to write more about it. No, none of us know. So children matter what we put in their minds, giving them happy. They don't need to know everything yet. They'll get it soon enough, I say. So, Olivia, I want to bring one more thing up. Moving to the 1920, a shift in the publishing industry. Children's become an industry of their own. I was shocked. I had no idea it was that far back, Olivia. 1920 set stories. Have you ever heard of those stories?
No, I remember the golden books. I had these like beautiful hardcover golden books growing up.
I have so many golden books. Do you or your mom have in your brothers from when you were young?
No, we always went to the library, right? So my mom and dad, they've always taken us to the library, and that's where we'd check out our books. And
Yes.
that was also fostering my early love of reading and writing. I would be so inspired, and sometimes there'd be books that I was dissatisfied with the endings. I rewrote my own ending.
There you go. Well, when I was growing up, there was no buying books. Remember my parents saving and probably on a payment plan to pay for it. The encyclopedias, door to door salesman would come around and sell you the hard. I don't remember how much, but I remember my parents scraping so that we would have them when we got into middle school and high school. And you know what? Using them for different essays and things I had to write or spelling or, that there were no computers, there were no Googles and If there were, I didn't know. But then, when I became a mommy, I would start buying little golden, and some of them were new, and some of them I would pick up at the thrift stores or yard sales or whatever. And we still have so many of those golden books. They were the best. But I don't know if you, because you're younger, Olivia, did you guys read Jack and Jane books?
Yep, we had those as well too. Yes, exactly.
Okay. Remember the Jack and Jane went up the hill, and we did all of those books, and the blonde hair girl, the haired guy, and we read books. We didn't have them, but we did read them in school. I remember that. I remember my typewriting book. I think I still have it somewhere. Who knows? And who would ever think today that way back then, and back then, that was only the 80s, typewriting books. But,
What's
it
really
taught us
special too?
where our hands were placed.
Exactly. It's remarkable now that I think about it. My love of reading and writing also came from, certain books and book series that focus on like strong, independent girls. So I remember reading like Little House on the Prairie, and that was all about Laura Ingalls Wilder, and she was just like a rambunctious girl living out in the wild, wild west, and that became like a movie and series. So that was really fun to see again a book coming to life, right? And these characters that I was imagining in my head actually had like a face and a name. And then my other favorite series was Anne of Green Gables, and there was a PBS special where they made a whole series of her, and she was the red hair spunky gal, and grew up, was part of this adoptive family, and then grew up to be a school teacher, and it was just so wonderful, to be able to think like, wow, like I could be like Anne of Green Gables.
You know what? And I can still sit down and watch Little House on the Prairie. I'm sorry. It is
Yep.
the best. It is the best because it's so much about your past, about life. Even though you think it's not true, you think no way that can happen, but no, they diseases that killed so many people. They also talked about, they were, and they were thankful for everything they had, and Shirley Temple's another one. I could sit and watch her because, she was an orphan. She was wealthy. She wasn't wealthy. It's real life things that happen. And those are the kind of things, and I know others enjoy other things that are not so lively. But I enjoy watching and reading things that are lively. Strong reading, but they're all different. They don't come with a book. Unfortunately, children do not come with a book. Olivia, I wish one day I could write a book that would pertain to every child, but it just doesn't. It doesn't work that way. They're all so.
Exactly.
Is there any last words, Olivia, that you want to say to our viewers? How to the youth about starting to read or reading more, whatever your last word.
One of my favorite quotes is by Toni Morrison, and she says this: if there's a book that you want to read and it hasn't been written yet, you must be the one to write it.
I love that. I love that. And with that said, I am going to set up some reminders, and then Olivia and I are going to come back. A second here. Here we go. All right. I want to thank you so much for being here with us tonight,
My pleasure, LaDonna.
Olivia. It has been a pleasure, and I want you to know you can come back to Mojo or Throwback Thursday